In the heart of a desolate America, where the skies are perpetually shrouded in a thick gray haze and the land lies barren and cracked, a figure emerges with a message that could either heal the nation's deep wounds or tear them wide open. Sarah Mitchell, a woman with an unyielding spirit and a voice that can move mountains, stands at the forefront of this movement. Her eyes, deep and piercing, hold the weight of 1,000 untold stories, and her smile, though warm and inviting, hints at a profound sadness. Sarah's journey began in a small, rundown town where poverty and despair were the only constants. Her childhood home, a dilapidated house on the outskirts of town, was a place where dreams went to die. Yet it was here that Sarah found her inspiration, in the words of Martin Luther King Jr., whose speeches she would listen to over and over, finding solace in his message of unity and hope. As I stand before you today, Sarah begins, her voice echoing through the packed arena, I am reminded of the words of my idol, Martin Luther King Jr. The ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of comfort and convenience, but where he stands at times of challenge and controversy. We are at such a moment, my friends, a moment where we must choose between the path of division and the path of unity. The rallies are a spectacle, with people from all walks of life gathering to hear Sarah speak. The air is thick with anticipation as she steps onto the stage, her presence commanding attention. We are not enemies, she declares, her voice resonating through the crowds. We are not divided by our differences, but united by our shared humanity. We must look beyond the labels that have been thrust upon us and see the person standing before us. As Dr. King said, we must learn to live together as brothers or perish together as fools. Sarah's message is simple yet powerful. Unity through understanding. She employs the same speaking strategies that made Martin Luther King Jr. speeches so influential: repetition, metaphors, stories, pathos, and positivity. I have a dream, she repeats, her voice rising with each iteration. A dream of an America where every child can grow up with hope and opportunity. An America where every voice is heard and every vote counts. Let freedom ring from the mountaintops of New Hampshire to the valleys of Alabama. Let freedom ring from every hill and molehill of Mississippi. From every mountainside, let freedom ring. The crowds erupt in cheers, tears streaming down their faces as they feel a glimmer of hope they had long forgotten. But not everyone is pleased with Sarah's rising popularity. In the shadows, a figure watches her every move with growing unease. His name is Jack Harris, a former political operative with a twisted past. Jack's eyes are cold, calculating, and his smile is a thin, cruel line that seems to cut across his face like a scar. He has been involved in some of the dirtiest political campaigns in history, and the thought of Sarah's unity message threatening the status quo is unbearable to him. Jack's backstory is one of tragedy and loss. He grew up in a household where violence was the norm, and his father's fists were his first introduction to the world. He learned early on to survive by any means necessary, and this had led him down a path of manipulation and deceit. As Sarah's poll numbers soar, Jack's desperation grows. He begins to spread conspiracy theories about her, painting her as the great manipulator, who is using her unity message as a smokescreen to control the masses. The media laps it up, and soon Sarah's name is synonymous with deceit and manipulation. But Sarah refuses to back down. She continues to build coalitions across party lines, speaking the language of both Wall Street and Main Street. Her campaign slogan, "One America, One Dream," becomes a movement, with people from all over the country rallying behind her. Then come the packages, small boxes containing broken black dolls, each with a noose around its neck. The dolls are grotesque, their faces twisted in silent screams. Sarah's security detail doubles, then triples, but she refuses to let fear dictate her actions. Fear is how they keep us divided, she says, echoing King's courage. We must not let it win. As Dr. King said, darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. The death threats escalate, and Sarah finds herself living in a constant state of paranoia. Every step she takes is watched. Every word she speaks is analyzed. But she pushes forward, driven by a determination that borders on madness. On the night of her historic election victory, Sarah steps onto the balcony of her campaign headquarters, the crowd below erupting in cheers. The air is electric, filled with a sense of hope and possibility. But in that moment of triumph, tragedy strikes. A single bullet from a high-powered rifle pierces the night air, striking Sarah with deadly precision. She crumples to the ground, her last words caught on countless phones. The dream lives on. The shooter, Jack Harris, is found with a manifesto claiming Sarah's unity message threatened the natural order. He is a man consumed by his own demons, driven by a twisted sense of purpose. As the news of Sarah's death spreads, the nation is united in grief and reflection. The streets are filled with mourners, their faces etched with sorrow. The desolate landscapes that had once seemed so bleak now seem even more barren, as if the very soul of the country had been ripped out. In the days that follow, the country descends into chaos. Riots break out, and the streets run red with blood. The unity that Sarah had fought so hard for seems to be slipping away, consumed by the very divisions she had sought to heal. But in the midst of this chaos, something strange begins to happen. People start to come together, not in anger, but in grief. They share stories of Sarah, of her message of hope and unity. And as they do, something begins to shift. The desolate landscapes begin to transform, ever so slightly. Flowers bloom in the cracks of the pavement, and the skies clear to reveal a glimmer of blue. It is as if Sarah's dream had not died with her, but had been passed on to the people. In the end, Sarah had once said, quoting Dr. King, "We will remember not the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends. Let us not be silent. Let us stand together, united in our quest for a better tomorrow." And so, the nation begins to heal, united by the very message that Sarah had fought so hard to deliver. The dream lives on, a beacon of hope in a world torn apart by division and hate. But as the country looks towards a brighter future, a figure watches from the shadows, a figure who has been there all along, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Jack Harris, the man who killed Sarah, is not alone. He has been part of a larger conspiracy, one that has been hiding in plain sight. As the country moves forward, Jack's eyes gleam with a malevolent light. "The dream may have lived on," he whispers, "but the nightmare is far from over. And in the darkness, I will wait, patiently, for the perfect moment to strike."